What's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Anime Station, known as Station for anything and everything animation. Welcome back to Phantom February 2. Welcome to our next episode review, Micromanagement. This episode's pretty fun, but it's a very simple episode. Like, we've seen this kind of premise before. Like, main characters get shrunken down to size of ants, and they have to try to survive this much bigger and much more dangerous world. Like, we've seen this plot before, right? It's not anything new. We've seen it a dozen times over, but they do it in a pretty interesting and honestly pretty funny way. So, I do really like this episode. This is by no means a bad episode, but I'm not sure if I can call it quite great, though. It has some really fun moments, and it is a really enjoyable watch, but I don't know. It's a little hard to articulate. Let's just start with our synopsis. It's a great day in Amity Park for most, but not so much for Danny and Tucker, who are practicing to get in shape in time for the president's physical fitness test. Something Sam easily breezes through. Skulker comes by on his usual hunt for Danny. However, he's easily beaten and sucked up into the Fenton thermos. Apologies for TikTok. In the school gym, Miss Tetzlaff, the gym teacher, notices Danny and Tucker's lack of physical strength. To bring the class average up, she assigns Tucker to be trained by Sam while Dash is to train Danny. Much to their dismay. Back in the Fenton household, Jazz uses a virtual reality helmet to exercise while Jack completes the Fenton Crammer, designed to shrink ghosts. He goes off to put the finishing touches on his gadget and eats his pizza up in the Ops Center. Meanwhile, in Danny's backyard, Sam tries to get Tucker to do push-ups as Danny watches, not caring at all for the test until Dash comes from behind and threatens him to improve his grade, or his own grade will sink lower than it already is. So while Danny is stuck with Dash, Sam makes Tucker run by holding onto a brand new PDA, not even out in the market yet. The way Sam trains Tucker in this episode's hilarious. Skulker flies over and begins attacking again. In order to transform away from Dash, Danny runs off pretending to be scared of the ghost. Which is funny, because it reminds me of Memory Blank. While Dash is left to run away on his own. As Danny transforms inside an alley, Jack, who overhears his son's cry for help, uses the new Fenton Crammer from the rooftop, shrinking Danny, Skulker, and Dash, who get caught in the line of fire, as well as some trash cans in a mailbox. Because Jack is a terrible shot. Danny flies Dash away from Skulker into his backyard where he suddenly loses his ability to fly. Skulker theorizes Danny's ghost powers are slowly fading and realizes the same thing is happening to him when a bird grabs him with its talons and he cannot go intangible. He can't go invisible and phase through it. However, the suit he has still works fine, giving him an advantage and allowing him to free himself from the bird and continue his pursuit of Danny. Meanwhile, Sam continues to train Tucker, now making him jump for the new PDA, tied to a fishing pole. Skulker flies towards Danny and fires more missiles, which Danny counters by ecto-blasting the grass, lifting them up as a shield. Ingenious move, I gotta say. The explosions launch Danny and Dash to the back door of the house, but Danny finds he cannot phase through them, because, just like Skulker, he is losing his ghost powers. Dash finds a mouse hole for them to hide from Skulker. Inside the dark mouse hole, Danny, using a ghost ray to create illumination, and Dash encounters a mouse, giant in comparison to them, as well as Skulker, who has made his way in. Predictably. Danny tries to fight with another ghost ray, but it gives out, making him realize he's losing his powers, and the room goes completely dark. Skulker ignites a flare, only for him and Dash to find out that Danny has overshadowed the mouse. Danny whacks Skulker with the tail before the mouse takes its body back, sending Danny out. He manages to find a small crack leading into the house, which he sends Dash through. Before falling, Danny distracts Skulker with the mouse. Danny and Dash make their way out to the kitchen, where Dash starts crying over his doomed fate. Danny pulls them together by saying they need to work together as fitness buddies to get to the Ops Center, because with his powers deteriorating, he cannot do what he always does as a ghost hero. Danny's powers shorten even further by transforming his boots into sneakers. Danny and Dash encounter more shrinkage problems when Jazz, upon entering, nearly crushes them and then almost drowns them with her sweat. Afterwards, Skulker leaves the mouse hole, now riding on the mouse he apparently tamed. Meanwhile, Tucker is doing pull-ups to try to get the PDA from a bird who took it and is now pecking his hands as he tries to get it because the PDA is in the bird's nest. And Sam is just like, no pain, no gain. Back at the Fenton house, Skulker gives chase until Maddie comes over to shoo the mouse away with a ghost broom. Upon its contact with the floor, the broom creates a dust bunny that rolls towards Dash and Danny. They jump over the first one, but Danny's pants turn back into jeans, and another dust bunny rolls them up and lands them in the living room, where Jack is practicing golf. The two hide inside the golf hole, as according to Danny, Jack is so bad at golf that it is the safest place. The comedy in this episode is so funny. It's so good. Tucker comes out of the park's first aid building after getting his hands bandaged from his encounter with the bird, and he discovers that the PDA was a fake used by Sam to motivate him. Ingenious move on her part. Danny and Dash climb up the stairs where the fading of Danny's powers causes his arms to return to normal, which is cool because it gives us like a Danny Phantom themed t-shirt. Like, it looks really cool. Skulker continues to give chase, but they make it into Danny's room where they shut the door on his face. The mouse watches as Skulker flies out the door and around the house, while Danny and Dash climb up a small rope from the window blinds to the ops center. Though not before Danny cakes Skulker with a bag of potato chips. Once they reach the ops center, Danny's powers again deteriorate as half of the hair on the back of his head now turns to its natural black. The two work together to open the window to the ops center. Skulker comes from behind, but the two are saved when the mouse attacks him, causing his gadgets to go haywire and fly him far away. But apparently not far enough because he reappears a couple seconds later. And I'm not gonna lie, the whole Danny slowly transforming back and seeing the back of his hair turn black while the rest of it was still silver, it gave me questions of whether or not this was the episode where Danny gets the white streak in his hair. But unfortunately, that turned out to not be the case, and that's probably not going to happen until either the back half of this season or until season 3. Inside the ops center, they spot the Fenton Kramer on a desk, reaching it via a dripping piece of pizza Jack had left behind. Skulker manages to get back inside where he sends the mouse away and climbs after the two, the mouse having destroyed his jetpack. Once he reaches the top, Danny completely changes back to human form except for his eyes, so he quickly hides in the mouth of the Fenton Kramer before Dash notices, ordering him to quickly switch the Kramer to uncram and pull the trigger. Dash does so right as Skulker closes in. Danny, now is normal size and with all his powers back, grabs Skulker and flicks him into the freezer of a nearby refrigerator. He then unshrinks Dash and thanks him for his help. Dash then proceeds to ask Danny Phantom to join him in bullying Danny Fenton just for giggles. And then Danny vindictively shrinks him again. At school later, Danny and Tucker take the fitness test. They both manage to do well enough to earn passing grades and medals for Sam and Dash, who is unshrunk again. Jack, who is watching from the bleachers with Maddie, is proud that Danny finally has the physical prowess of a 60-year-old president. Maddie then pours some ice cubes into Jack's root beer, including one that contains Skulker, as, well, it's more than likely he ends up getting eaten. And yeah, the ending's the highlight of the episode. I don't have the picture, but it's definitely the highlight of the episode. It is such a funny little ending. And it actually reminds me a lot of Krabs Out of the Mode from SpongeBob, which we'll talk about more when June comes, because that's when we're going to discuss Season 5 of that. But that's what that reminds me of. And honestly, I think both endings are pretty funny. So that's the entire plot synopsis of Micromanagement. This is a really goofy, funny episode, but the pacing does hurt a little bit, and there are a few scenes that, I don't know, feel a little bit strange. Like, for example, the scene where Skulker gets thrown away by the mouse, only to come back seconds later. I guess cartoon logic, but that still feels a little bit forced. And then stuff like Jazz on the VR machine, while a cool visual, doesn't really have much in terms of the episode, outside of almost clobbering Danny and Dash with her sweat. That's literally about it. Outside of that, she's barely even in the episode. which sucks because she is one of my favorite characters. And, what's one other negative I have with this episode? Oh yeah, it's definitely a filler episode. There's little to no actual continuity in the canon of the series with this episode. So it's not really a required watch. It's more of just a fun little one-off episode. But aside from that, this is actually a really fun episode. I had a really good time watching it again, and yeah, it's a pretty funny, enjoyable, entertaining episode that I quite like. I may not think it's a great episode, but it's a really fun filler episode. But as for series continuity, Tucker and Sam are paired together in Miss Tetlaf's class again, just like in Life Lessons. Coincidentally, Danny's paired with someone who hates him and Skulker's the antagonist. And then for some quick trivia, there's a continuity error. Danny and Dash needed to use the Fenton Crammer to return to their normal size. Skulker, however, was seen as normal size in later episodes despite not using it. Yeah, weird. Matt Wayne said the crew of the show made a funnier rework of his script, which he liked, and believed he may not have been funny enough for the show. Yeah, like the whole show's crew was like one big family. They all supported and cared for each other, and that's really nice to see. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. This is a pretty quick review, I think, right? Yeah, pretty quick, only a little over 10 minutes, and it's for an episode that's just a fun little filler episode. I had quite a good time with it. It's definitely one of the better filler episodes I've seen in cartoons, and it's really funny. So, Danny Phantom fans, I think this is one you should definitely still watch. But just be aware that it's definitely a filler episode, not an episode that's actually pivotal to the story itself. So, with all that said, final verdict for this episode is a 7 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for watching all these videos. Seriously, means a lot. And I'll see you next time for Beauty Marked. Until then, I'm Jet Small of Animation Station, and I'm going Ghost!